Whoa, buddy. Put that thing back in its holster. We haven't gone anywhere.
I don't understand.
Check out the MichaelDukesShow.com for information on how to get access to the podcast.
Welcome to the party, pal.
The Michael Dukes Show.
I have 2 guns, one for each of you.
Firearms Friday.
As Thomas Jefferson stated, it is the right and duty of the people to be at all times armed.
Say hello to my little friend.
I say that the Second Amendment is, in order of importance, the First Amendment. The right to keep and bear arms is the one right that allows rights to exist at all.
The Michael Dukes Show. The right to keep and bear arms shall not be infringed. Firearms.
From my cold, dead hands.
Friday.
Take my rifle, this is my gun. This is for riding, this is for fun.
Firearms Friday.
Firearms Friday. Hello, my friends. Hello, welcome to this beautiful Friday morning here on the Michael Dukes Show. Of course, those of you who know, we're broadcasting live, by the way, across the state of Alaska on this favorite radio station and or FM translator and live around the world at michaeldukeshow.com. This Friday, of course, as you know, Fridays are dedicated to a discussion of the Second Amendment and the right to keep and bear arms, gun rights, gun laws, tips, tricks, tactics, just everything. We'd love to hear what you guys have to say today. It's just you and me this morning. Just the two of us. We can make it if we'd love to hear from you today in a discussion of gun rights and thoughts on the Second Amendment and gun laws and everything else. It is the one day a week that we dedicate to discussions of said topics because about 15 years ago I was told to stop talking about guns all the time. Okay, I'll just make it one day a week. How about that? Okay, all right. So I did because, you know me. I could talk about guns at any time. So we started Firearms Friday. And that gave us the opportunity to focus in on a lot of these issues. I know some of you are like, meh. Somebody yesterday said, what did he say? He said something like, Fridays are such an odd show because it's guns in Hollywood. Well, true, because we do focus on firearms discussions, and then we always try and finish off Fridays with a little bit of a lighter side. And so we're going to be bringing on Willie Waffle from wafflemovies.com. He's going to come on board at the end of the show today, and we're going to talk about, what's going on in Hollywood, the latest streams, and some other things. Just something that's a little bit, I always like to finish it up on a kind of a high note, or at least a funny note, an entertaining note. So we'll be joined later today by Willie Waffle from wafflemovies.com, who comes on board and does that. He talks about the streams. He talks about the entertainment news. We talk a little bit about a little bit of everything. A little bit of nonsense now and then is relished by the wisest man, right? That's what we're going to do. So we're going to have a good time today. Sorry if I seem a little punchy. It's only because I am. I was laying in bed this morning at 1 o'clock in the morning, looking at the clock going, why will the brain not shut off? Oof, man. All right. So we're getting it through here. We're getting ready to go. Some of the big topics that I know I want to talk about today includes this discussion on home invasion. There's a discussion on why home invasion illustrates the stupidity of gun control. We're going to talk about one of the Supreme Court justices, Sonia Sotomayor, one of the most anti-Second Amendment judges, and yet, it's a rule for thee and not for me. She's got armed bodyguards that take care of her and protect her wherever she goes. I don't know if you saw it earlier this week, but one of her bodyguards, a U.S. Marshal, shot a would-be carjacker who attempted to carjack them right outside her house in Washington, D.C. Whereby I just, play stupid games, win stupid prizes. I'm going to go up to a guy in a car and try and carjack him, and oops, he's a U.S. Marshal. Anyway, we'll talk about that. We're going to talk a little bit about how the LA District Attorney is now facing more questions after a felon has been charged with killing a New Zealand tourist last Tuesday, because apparently what's working is, it's working for them. All that stuff is working. And then we're going to talk a little bit about the Republican Party platform. It is a little concerning, I guess I should say, a little concerning, especially since they have continued to make changes that seem to conform to the point of view of Donald Trump. And although the focus has been primarily on the fact that abortion is severely, or abortion, anti-abortion rhetoric or laws or platform points have been severely watered down, the one thing that they also didn't mention was that his support for gun control, because this is essentially a Trump-pleasing platform, has just continued to be watered down. Jacob Sullum from Reason Magazine, he's at Freedom Fest today. We were trying to see if he could come on the program, but he's so busy at Freedom Fest, he said he just couldn't break away. Hopefully we can come back on next week and get into some of the nitty-gritty with him on this, but it's, well, let's just say it's a little disappointing, shall we? And then finally, I'm sure we will talk a bit about the Alec Baldwin case, which is now being heard in front of a jury in New Mexico, Santa Fe, New Mexico, and it is it's been interesting to watch. It's been really interesting to watch, and we'll see what comes from that as well. So, all right. Again, phone number to call this morning if you would like to sound off and be part of the conversation. We'd love to hear what you have to say. And so all you got to do if you would like to call in this morning is give us a shout at 319-527-3864. 319-527-3864. So feel free to come on board and talk with us this morning about any of the stuff that you want to talk about. Sorry, Brian just said fake news. Fake news. It was sarcasm, but fake news. All right. Let's start chatting about some of these big headlines. I mean, first and foremost, I do have to say, if you have watched the slow disintegration of the Democratic presidential campaign, this is not a Firearms Friday topic, but I would be remiss if I didn't mention it. If you have not been watching the slow disintegration of the Democratic presidential campaign, it's like the best thing. I mean, it's like popcorn. Just bring me a Coke and a popcorn, and I'll sit here and watch that for hours. It is so astonishing. At the end of the NATO summit yesterday, President Biden, the Muppet in chief, took to the podium to introduce the president of Ukraine, Vladimir Zelensky, and instead introduced him as President Putin. And then went on to stumble to say, oh, I'm going to beat Putin. I'm so focused on beating Putin. That's, trying to excuse this gaffe. And then right after that, there was a press conference. Well, I guess what his staff is calling them big boy press conferences. Like he's a big boy now. I don't know if that was like after if you watched the debate and you saw his wife get on stage with him at that rally outside the debate or whatever, and she's like, you answered every question, like you're a big boy now. I don't know why they're calling him big boy conferences. This apparently is something that his press team is actually referring to them as. Anyway, during this big boy press conference, he only took questions from a selected group of friendly reporters. There was no questions, by the way, from like Peter Dosey from Fox News or anything. And an answer to a question about whether Vice President Kamala Harris is prepared to step in as vice president should he not be able to continue, he answered by calling her Vice President Trump. I wouldn't have picked Vice President Trump to be vice president, though I think she's qualified to be Vice President Trump. Oh my God. Again, just remember, this is the same guy that said this about firearms. One of the, again, heavily anti-gun president. Nobody deserves it, although that's a change from where he was in 1986 when he was arguing for the Firearms Owners Protection Act. But here's what he just
put a pistol on a brace, it turns into a gun. Makes it more, you can have a higher caliber weapon, a higher caliber bullet coming out of that gun. It's essentially turned it into a short barrel rifle, which has been a weapon of choice by a number of mass shooters.
It turns it into a short-barreled rifle. It changes the caliber. It is the magical, mystical fire. I mean, it's just. I mean, this is the kind of stuff. This is Sleepy Joe, and the whole, stick a shotgun out the window and just let the two barrels blast, and that'll keep you safe. Which, by the way, was actually used that was his argument in 2016. No, it wasn't 2016. It was before that. When he said he was part of the Obama's team, where he was talking about gun control, and you don't need an AR-15. All you need is a double barrel shotgun. You just stick that thing out the window, and let both barrels blast and the criminals will run away. And somebody actually used that as a defense in court and got creamed. Some homeowner or whatever said, well, the vice president said I should just shoot outside the window. And they're like, nope, that's not what the laws say. And, but don't worry. Old Muppet Joe's got you squared away. He's got you covered. It'll be. Anyway, I just wanted to mention that to watch this is just so astounding. It's like watching a train wreck in slow motion. You just can't, the thing is tumbling and pieces are flying off and you can't stop watching it. Can't stop, don't stop, never stopping watching it. All right, we're going to go, we're going to take a break. We'll get started here. I got some of these headlines and some of my thoughts on some of these different topics. I'll also take some questions or comments from the chat room, which is available over on Facebook.com/Michael Duke Show, because today is Q&A all day. Questions and answers. No such thing as a dumb gun question. So if you want to ask a question about firearms or talk about something, now's the time to do it. We're going to continue the Michael Duke Show, common sense, liberty-based, free-thinking radio.
If you missed the show, you can listen to it on your time with Dukes On Demand. Oh, and it's free. Like America used to be. Streaming live every weekday morning on Facebook Live and MichaelDukesShow.com.
Okay. Oh, man. God almighty, this morning is... Oof. Oh, so, hello, how are you? Oh, man, so much going on here. Let's see if I get caught up on all your comments and stuff like that. Someday I want you to explain to me the waffle business model, says Brian. I don't know what that means. Double rainbow. I don't know what that means. But sure, you bet, Brian. Let me help you with that. Still soggy and green. Still soggy but green and beautiful aisle. Oh, good morning. It's weird. Just Google Blue Waffle for their business ventures. Crime in D.C. ? Say it ain't so. Say it ain't so. 10-year-old grandson will be taking the hunter safety class and will be going on his first moose hunt this fall. Any caliber recommendations? Offered my 30-30. 30-06 is, kind of minimum in my opinion, but that's what happens. Kelly says she loves the new Republican platform. Okay. All right. Watered down, no protections for the Second Amendment, reduced protections for abortion. Okay. There you go. Let's see. I'm going down here. Good morning. Elder abuse by the FLOTUS, the First Lady of the United States. Yeah. You watch that. When he came out of that disaster train wreck of a debate, and they were all doing the cheering and clapping at this little gathering that he had, and then you just watch the video of her talking to him. It's like, oh, you answered every question. It's like she was clapping like she's a 5-year-old boy who just did something right for mommy. It's just, I just don't know. Rick says he does the shotgun blast out the window thing once a week just to let people know that he's still there. Well, there you go. Mm-hmm. Questions and comments only from tame pre-selected audience members. Yeah. He actually admitted it at the beginning of the thing. It was just, man. Maybe Biden could tell us how to fix the PFD issues. I don't know if he could remember PFD, PDF, DPF, FPD. I just don't know if he could remember any of those things. I really don't. Yay, you pooped today. I mean, that's exactly what it felt like. Yay, you potty, you potty. I mean, it's so, guys, it's just so crazy to watch this thing. Just, it's insane. This is the guy with the nuclear launch codes. And he can't remember Zelensky from Putin. He can't remember who his vice president is. He can't. Wow. But he'd only get out of the race if God Almighty came down to earth and told him to get out. That's what he said on ABC here this last week. Oh, it's crazy. All right. I am I'm just warning you, I'm a little low and slow today. Because, because a little behind the power curve here. So if I seem a little bit off, that's my excuse, and I'm sticking with it. That's what's going on. That is my excuse, and I'm sticking with it. You could save me for myself if you want to call in and talk about anything today. 319-527-3864. Feel free to do so. Just stop calling it the new Republican Party platform. It's Trump's platform. We'll talk about that. But yeah, one of those things. Here we go.
What the hell is an assault weapon? Does that mean that if we hurt your feelings, you should consider the Michael Dukes Show assault radio? Okay, we can accept that. Here's Michael Dukes. Kind of a dick, but somewhat funny.
I guess the jury's still out on the somewhat funny. I mean, the other part, I am kind of a, I can be. That's me. That's me all the time. All right, let's dive into this story about what some of the biggest hypocrites in the country are. A lot of these elites, especially Washington elites, who continue to go on and on about how the little people shouldn't be allowed to have their right to keep and bear arms. How the Second Amendment does not guarantee an individual right. No. And then, of course, we find out that they are being protected 24/7 on the taxpayer's dime by people with guns, which I find just, it is so hypocritical, right? So let me go back to the original story, which came out earlier this week. According to the Daily Mail, Justice Sotomayor's U.S. Marshal bodyguard shot a carjacker. So the headline reads, Sonia Sotomayor saved from danger. Supreme Court Justice's bodyguard shoots gun-wielding suspect who tried to steal his car outside her D.C. home. A teenage suspect was shot by U.S. Marshals on Friday after allegedly attempting to carjack Supreme Court Justice Sotomayor's federal bodyguards outside her home. Metropolitan PD confirmed it was investigating a shooting that took place in the Northwest Washington, D.C. area where two marshals were on duty working a protective detail in the early hours of July the 5th. A deputy marshal was sitting in his car outside the top judge's condominium at 1:15 a.m. when 18-year-old Kentrell Flowers approached, pointing a handgun at him and tried to steal the vehicle. Local police included a press release about the incident last week, but did not mention the connection to Sotomayor. The defensive gun use involved had multiple defenders. The suspect exited a vehicle, approached one of the marshals, pointed a handgun at him, and apparently attempted to carjack him. The marshal drew his service firearm and fired several shots at the suspect. A second marshal from another vehicle also responded and fired his service weapon. Two on one, and the guy's not dead, which is either a testament to their it's either a testament to their accuracy or inaccuracy. I'm not even sure what to say at this point. The U.S. deputy marshals were on duty working a protective detail for Supreme Court Justice Sotomayor's home. The suspect was transported to a local hospital for treatment of non-life-threatening injuries, and no law enforcement officers were injured. The suspect, again, Kentrell Flowers, 18, was arrested and charged with armed carjacking, carrying a pistol without a license, and possession of a large-capacity ammunition feeding device. Okay, so first, let me break this down for you. Washington, D.C., one of the places in the country that has the most stringent gun control laws anywhere, right? I mean, just stringent, super. But Flowers was already 18. That you cannot purchase a handgun unless you are over the age of 21. I mean, 21 is the legal age right? In most states. I don't think it's a federal level. 20. Anyway, no. Washington, D.C. has so many laws on its book. If you remember, Stephen Gutowski from The Reload, I don't know if you follow him, but he had an article out, and then he put it through on his podcast. He actually chronicled all the hoops and steps he had to go through to get a concealed carry permit in Washington, D.C., and how he's limited to carrying a concealed carry piece with a 10-round magazine. I mean, he apparently, this kid Flowers apparently missed all these laws that, about what to legally carry and how to legally. He just apparently was just like, oh, I just didn't know. But this isn't the first time this has happened. This kind of stuff happened where the elites who continue to look you in the eye and tell you, well, you really don't need that, continue to have their life, liberty, their family members' life and liberty protected. In November of last year, Secret Service agents stationed outside the home of President Joe Biden's granddaughter, Naomi, opened fire on two teens who were fleeing after allegedly stealing over $1,000 of gear from a Black Ford Expedition used by members of the First Family. The 19-year-old, was arrested on February 7th, and a 14-year-old male accomplice was arrested a month later after a separate alleged armed carjacking. The 14-year-old was the worst part of this whole story. An affidavit from the Secret Service agent says the boy was wearing a court-ordered GPS ankle bracelet during the theft from Naomi's car. I mean, what? And last October, Congressman Harry Kelliler was carjacked at gunpoint near his D.C. home by 3 armed robbers in knit caps and ski masks. This whole thing is so astonishing to watch. And remember, this is all in protection of Justice Sotomayor, who has written the dissent in several cases that are crucial to our understanding of the Second Amendment, including McDonald v. Chicago, which is the one that ultimately found that the Second Amendment applied to state and local governments as well as those at the federal level. In that dissent, by the way, they said, in sum, the framers did not write the Second Amendment in order to protect the private right of armed self-defense, which then they said there has been and there is no consensus that the right is or was fundamental. I just don't know how you can even wrap your brain around this stuff. But this is the hypocrisy of just elites in general, but Washington elites and the left particularly, that whatever you want to do, I mean, it's Michael Bloomberg all over again, right? Michael Bloomberg, who is the, former mayor of New York, all about gun control, has funded every town for gun safety and all this other kind of stuff, yet is surrounded by bodyguards with machine guns at, all times. He's a billionaire. He's got his own armed security force. He does all this other kind of stuff. So it's, again, one rule for thee and another for me. The problem is they don't even see the hypocrisy in this. They don't even see the hypocrisy in criminals are going to break. A 14-year-old with an ankle bracelet was picked up for attempted carjacking, and after he attempted another carjacking with an ankle bracelet. Sorry, it was for theft and then a carjacking. But I'm just like, whoa. Do you not see the conundrum here? That you can make all the laws you want. All the laws you want. Criminals, by their very definition, are not going to pay attention to your laws because they're criminals. And all you're doing is harming average, decent, law-abiding citizens who just want to be able to protect themselves and their families. Yes, fatherless behavior. To quote one of my favorite YouTubers, Decoy Voice, this just extension of fatherless behavior. 14 years old. Shot at by the Secret Service. I mean, this guy's got some street cred, right? Wearing an ankle bracelet, monitor, GPS monitor. First of all, what are you doing up there near the president's? What? I mean, did somebody not at the company go, well, I think he's outside of his boundary. I mean, did something not go off? Anyway, 14 years old, wearing an ankle monitor, robbing cars in the middle of the night at what I would assume would be a fairly hoity-toity upscale DC neighborhood. This is the president's granddaughter we're talking about, with Secret Service protection. Gets shot at by the Secret Service and then is back at it a couple weeks later, trying to carjack somebody at 14 years old. You cannot regulate or legislate evil or insanity. Criminals are going to do what they're doing. Yes, I'm not saying you don't need to have laws. I'm saying you cannot double down and put more and more laws in place when you're trying to regulate the behavior of the criminal class. Laws are for law-abiding people, right? Laws are for law-abiding people. All you're doing is harming law-abiding citizens who want nothing more. They don't want to hurt anybody. They just want to make sure that they have the ability to defend themselves from people who would wish to do them harm. Which just seems commonsensical to me. Little Billy was a sweet child until the gun got to him. Oh, that's right. How many times do we have to hear that? How many times do we have to hear about some thug that gets shot inside somebody's house because they're part of a home invasion? And little Johnny, he was such a good boy. He was the valedictorian, and he was the quarterback on the high school team, and his grandmother loved him. And he was such a good boy. You had no right to take the law into your own hands and shoot him in your own house. He was a good boy until he found that gun, and then that gun turned him into a monster. No, Johnny was always a monster. The gun just kind of gave him the power to do what the hell he wanted to do, or made him feel like he, come on. This is nuttier than squirrel poo. Just watching this stuff is like 14 years old and carjacking. I mean, let's not even get into the Chicago area shootings and things that are going on in Chicago. Armed roving gangs of children, they are true children, between the ages of 12 and 15. There's carjacking gangs in Chicago that are made up of preteens, barely pubescent teens who are already hardened lifetime criminals, armed with guns in the biggest gun-free anti-gun zone in the country. Again, all you're hurting with all this talk about new laws and new this and new that, all you're hurting are the average law-abiding citizens who just want to be left alone, want to be able to protect themselves, and understand that law enforcement cannot be everywhere all the time. Okay, I see Fred from Rhode Island is up in the chat room. Up on the phone. He's on hold. That's what I meant. Fred's on hold. We're going to talk with him on the other side of this brief commercial break, and we'll be back right after this. The Michael Duke Show, Common Sense Radio. If you want to join the queue to talk in the conversation, maybe something I said just sparked something in you. Maybe you're mad because I'm wrong. Explain to me why I'm wrong. Tell me. I'm happy to have a conversation with you about it. 319-527-3864. 319-527-3864. Back with more. And Fred from Rhode Island right after this.
Running on 100% pure beard power. Oh, also some coffee. We dip our beard in coffee.
Ha, nice beard.
The Michael Duke Show.
Fred, I see you there. I guess we'll test your audio. How about that? We'll test your... Oh, I got to flick this over here. I forgot to push a button. Let me get over to you, Fred. I could see you, but just give me a hot second. First, I got to put everybody on hold. All right. Now Fred's on hold. And now I'm going to come back to him and take him off hold so we can hear him and see what he's got going on. Good morning, Fred. How you doing, my friend?
Morning, Mike. Hey, how's your 4th?
Oh, man, it was so good, my friend. You have no idea. The 4 days off in a row without any real responsibility. I mean, I had plenty of stuff to do, but I could sleep in and stay up late, and it was beautiful. You ready to...
welcome back.
Yeah, thank you.
Good to have you back.
I appreciate it. All right, Fred, we'll hold the line. Don't go anywhere. We'll be right back to you here, and we will... We'll pick it up on the other side with you here when we get going. Everybody in the chat room, by the way, Fred is saying good morning to you. Good morning to you. Greg Collins says, so many buttons. You have no idea, man. I know I've shown you guys this inside what the studio looks like when I'm doing this, but I literally sometimes feel like I'm trying to pilot the space shuttle. I got consoles, 2 consoles, buttons, 5 monitors, cameras, lighting, joysticks, flight controls. I got all kinds of stuff in here. It's like, I do have flight control. You can't see them, but I literally have flight sticks here under my computer because I play space sims. But I literally sometimes feel like I'm trying to fly the space shuttle. And when you've only had 4 hours of sleep, that's a tough thing to do. What's this button do? If you drink a fifth on the 4th, it's difficult to go forth on the 5th. Are you trying to say it's because I'm drunk? God, I wish. No, I don't wish. because it would be the morning after. It'd feel horrible. All right, let me I'm just going. Bill just said we need to drop cases of ammo in Chicago and just let them sort it out. I mean, it's amazing. I mean, it's gotten to the point where the national media does not even really report on what happens in Chicago. I remember for a while there was like this running commentary where every week, after every weekend, they would give you an update on what took place in Chicago over the weekend. And it was another, 20, 30, 40 shootings in downtown Chicago. 20, 30, 40 people being shot every weekend. And after a while, it just kind of tapered off and they stopped reporting. I mean, the shootings didn't stop. They just stopped reporting on it. I mean, who would want to live in Chicago? I mean, just oof. Amy said, that's a lot of buttons. How do you keep track of them? Well, sometimes I don't, as pointed out by the fact that I forgot to put all the phones on hold and jump over to the right room. Sometimes it just doesn't happen. It's habit force, Amy. That's what happens. I just pay attention to everything and, get her done. If Kentrell Flowers is in the country illegally, are we going to hear about that next month? Asking for friend. No, I don't think so. I don't think he was in the country illegally, but I mean, I see your point there. Good morning. Good morning. Good morning. Sorry, I'm just going back here. Even Harold said, don't give up on the second. Just don't give up on the Second Amendment. What did he say? I meant to save that and I didn't. But even Harold is admitting that the country that gives up its Second Amendment rights is basically doomed to failure, which again just proves that Harold can be right at least once a day on something. So thank you, Harold, for the commentary. I appreciate it. Here he goes. History proves government with an unarmed populace 100% of the time are guilty of the worst atrocities, never weaken the second. Yeah. I mean, it by and large, 100% true. Chicago is not an accurate reflection of American gun owners. No, absolutely not. Is Armed in AK on YouTube. Absolutely not. They're not a reflection of American gun owners. What they are a reflection of is the absolute stringent failure of gun control and the attempts of gun control in order to protect society, quote unquote, or to stop criminal behavior or criminal activity. Chicago is the poster child for why that doesn't work, because criminals they break the law. We call them criminals because of that, right? That's what's going on. Okay, fine. Let's get back into it here. About 10 seconds. Oof. Oof. The Michael Duke Show. Common sense, liberty-based, free-thinking radio. Like and share, subscribe, ring the bell. Let's do this thing. Okay, here we go. Fred's on the line. Here we go, Fred. For you.
What the hell is an assault weapon?
If we could just figure out how to get all of the murder guns and the attack guns and not keep selling those to people and just sell protection guns, I think that would be great and solve a lot of problems.
Does this mean that if we hurt your feelings, you'd consider the Michael Dukes Show assault radio? Okay, we can live with that. Here's Michael Dukes.
All right, we're continuing on this beautiful Firearms Friday. Looks like it's going to be a nice day today. Excited about it, but it doesn't matter because it's TGIFF. It's Firearms Friday, so, I mean, that makes it a good day automatically. Phone lines are open this morning. If you'd like to sound off and give us a call, 319-527-3864 is the phone number. Fred is over in Rhode Island. It's been a couple weeks since we talked to him. So let's see what he has to say on this beautiful Firearms Friday. Good morning, Fred. What's on your mind, my friend?
Good morning, Michael. You mentioned earlier about what's going on in Chicago and all the crimes down in D.C., especially against the elites. They sit there and they try to hijack them and they wind up getting shot. Well, like I say, if you play stupid games, you win stupid prizes. That definitely applies there.
Yeah, well, absolutely.
Well, it boils down to, what I see it is, it's a failure of the judicial system. Our judicial system has completely gone off the rails. I mean, there is no such thing as justice in the law anymore. They sit there and they try to play these political games, and that's all it is. It's a political narrative. Like gun control itself is a political narrative. It's not up to save anything. It's not to make anybody safer or prevent anything. It's just a political narrative that they came up with years ago, a long time ago, and they're just continuing to push on. And I think I see it as them trying to get the camel's nose under the tent in order to flip the tent over. That's
right.
The first step.
No, and that's how they've done it.
Just take away the Second Amendment.
Yeah.
And that will just lead to the downfall of the rest of it, and then they got the whole game.
Yeah,
that I think is their end game. And part of it, they've definitely weaponized your judicial system. All you have to do is look at the Trump trial and not see how that doesn't work.
Yeah, no, I mean, and this is how they've done it for years, right? It's inch by inch. It's one little thing. They keep moving the football down the field. It's like by penalties, they're not moving. They're just quietly moving it 5 yards at a time. And all of a sudden you're near the end zone. And that's what they're trying to do. And it brings up really
these people do anything to remain in power. I mean, lie, cheat, steal. That's their mantra. That's what keeps them alive. And that's the way they do business. They're never on the level. Everything is like I say, in the halls of justice, the only justice is in the halls.
Yeah,
and it's really they're taking us down. And all you have to do is just look at the Biden administration and everything they have not accomplished, and the downfalls we have in this government right now. You can definitely put it on their backs. It's not just Biden, like I say, he's just the figurehead. It's those who are pushing the buttons behind him, who are driving the bus, that are causing the problem.
Yeah, no, I mean, and again, it's interesting to see a guy who has metamorphosized. I remember earlier this week, or I guess it was earlier this week, I was reading a story about something about, gun control and the Second Amendment and everything else, back to this point of saying, remember Joe Biden, who back in 1986 was arguing for the Firearms Owners Protection Act and talking about the rights and protecting the rights of gun owners. Not that the FOPA was anything great, but, talking about that Joe Biden then is a complete 360-degree difference from the Joe Biden of today. It's whatever we can do to remain in power. If the electorate wants more gun control, we're for more gun control. If the electorate wants less gun control, then we're for we'll say whatever. And this is a Trump problem too, because remember, Trump was all about banning assault weapons and implementing a 3-day waiting period on any firearms purchase and all this other kind of stuff. He's no stalwart defender of the Second Amendment. They all say what you want to hear, Fred, to get in office and to stay in office.
Well, you're absolutely right. This is the problem. Professional politicians are nothing more than just liars, cheats, and liars, cheats, and robbers of your rights and the rights of this country and the Constitution and the Bill of Rights. This is the platform they stand on. Whatever it takes is what they will do. And I think most people, if they haven't recognized that, they should definitely be taking a good look at it, especially coming election year, because this is either going to make us or break us. Either we're going to break out of this, or it's going to bury us. I think it's coming down to the finish line here.
Well, and I think this is an interesting finish line because, again, you're ending up with the choice of the lesser of two evils, even though one is completely incompetent and can barely form a cohesive sentence. The other one is still telling you exactly what you want to hear, which is disturbing. Could we please get another choice? Right. Could we please get more than just this dichotomy of door 1 or door 2? We need door 3 or door 4, door 5. We need more choices. And unfortunately, they just don't want us to have that, Fred.
Well, I think libertarian is the way to go. At this point in time, between A, B, there should be C. I think C would be a good libertarian candidate that would carry us through into the future, and with honest government,
Yeah,
honest leadership.
I would like to see that. I would hope that would happen, but I guess we'll have to see what happens there. All right, Fred. Any final thoughts here before I let you go?
Get a quick range report if you got time for it.
Yeah, go ahead. Give it to us real quick. We got time.
Okay, recently came across a Canik. If you're familiar with the Turkish-made Caniks. The Canik TP, it's not the TP, it's the Mate, M-A-T-E, but it's pronounced Mate, MC9. It's the compact, it's a SIG 365 size firearm, handgun. Definitely, it's got a 3.18 inch barrel, and at 25 yards, it punches a 4-inch group all day long with most ammunition in 115, 124, and 147 grain. It's phenomenal, absolutely phenomenal.
And is it reasonably priced? I mean, most of those Turkish imports
reasonably under $400, and it gives you a complete kit with a holster, tools. Everything you can, two magazines, 12 round and a 15 round magazine in the pre-states, and 2 10-rounders, of course, in the non-pre-states like mine.
Right. And it's
absolutely phenomenal.
And it's a 9 millimeter.
Point, you can't beat it.
Yeah, and it's a 9 millimeter.
9 millimeter. I think they make them in 9 and 40.
And what's the brand name again? Because I've never heard of it. It's Nate is the model number.
Canik.
Canik. Okay. All right, we'll see.
Yep.
Well, I appreciate it, Fred. Sometimes it's nice to be able to have a budget firearm that you can use. Maybe you need a truck gun that can be with you wherever you go. That's not a bad idea. All right, well, thank you.
This is so small that the concealability. I say it's in the same size range as the 365 at like half the price. You can't beat it.
Yeah. All right. Well, thank you, Fred. I appreciate it, my friend. Good to talk with you. Thanks for calling in this morning.
All right, have a good week, Mike. Take care now.
You bet. 319-527-3864 if you'd like to sound off. I hadn't really heard much about Canik, although both Brian and Greg in the chat room are saying that they are getting a lot of good reviews and they make a nice handgun. I mean, it's never bad. People always talk about, the High Point or the this or that High Point was a brand that made a very inexpensive firearm that was not super durable. But I always say, it's better than no firearm. You know what I mean? If you said High Point or baseball bat, I would say High Point all day long. And Canik, I had heard of the name, but I have not seen one or have not shot one, but it's getting good reviews, and apparently folks like them. So it's good stuff. All right, coming up next, we're going to talk a little bit about the GOP's platform, the new platform that just came out, and the disappointment that I feel in my bones about it in general. And we'll also talk about the home invasion, why home invasion illustrates that gun control is just stupid, and some of the reporting on what's going on with the Rust trial and Alec Baldwin. I will freely admit, without shame, that I have been watching a lot of court TV this week. In the late hours of the evening, I am watching the replays of the daily court battles going on in Santa Fe, New Mexico, in the shooting trial with Alec Baldwin as the defendant for manslaughter on the set of the Rust movie set. And well, let's just say it's been interesting and educational to watch. Absolutely crazy what's going on out there. And again, just reminds me of the disdain that anti-gunners have for things that they don't understand. I was saying this to Terry last night, that sometimes when people have a disdain for something, for example, like firearms, they just don't even think that the rules apply to them. They just don't even think that the safety rules or anything else. And I'm not talking about the 4 rules of safety. I'm talking about even movie set safety rules, which are different. But they just act like they don't even apply because they have a disdain for the firearm. We'll talk about that on the other side, The Michael Duke Show. Yeah. Greg says, run a high point, get you lots of malfunction drill practice. I'm not saying it's great. I'm saying if you offered me in a fight a baseball bat or a high point, you know which one I'd take, even with the malfunction drills, right? I mean, even with that, I would still take away that. I would still take that every time. Apparently, Hickok 45 did a high point review recently. Interesting. And Travis says, I love the Canic. Just a couple of months ago, they released a collaboration with Terran Tactical, and it's amazing so far. Nice. Maybe I have to get one for science. Maybe I have to pick one up for science and range reporting here to talk about. Is that a business expense? Could I do that as a business expense? I'm asking for a friend. All right. Well, I feel like I'm finally awake. It's only been an hour and 40 minutes since I've been up, but you know. Armed in AK said he saw that same high point review by Hickok. Not bad. They also make a 10 millimeter model now. Oof. I don't know if I would, well, you know, higher recoil, pressure chambers, everything else. I don't know. I can't think of, I know I've handled a high point. I don't remember if I've ever actually shot one. I know that I've handled one and looked at one. I don't remember. I don't think so. I don't think I've ever actually shot one. But there you go. It may or may not go bang on the first trigger pull, says Greg. I mean, I see your point, Greg. Again, it's not something that I would like. I'm using the hypothetical, right? I'm using the hypothetical that if you gave me a choice in a battle royale of a baseball bat or a high point, I'd take the high point because I guess, long story short, I could use it as a club if I needed to. In the end, if it didn't go bang when I pulled the trigger, I guess I could use it as a brick in my hand, a bludgeon. But you know, at least if I was in an arena and it was gladiatorial style and they said, choose your weapon. And I'm like, I'm not going with a high point. I'm going to use this baseball bat. At least the high point would give me distance and separation, right? I mean, I would know before they got to me whether or not it was going to work. Probably have the opportunity to perform maybe at least one malfunction drill if they were a good, 40, 50 feet away. At least be able to have the chance to maybe do one to try a second bang, and then I'm just using it as a hammer. That's what it is. Good to know you're awake now, Frank says, because you're in control of the codes. Oh my gosh. Three Bears. What? Three Bear sells a nice short shotgun around $240. Is it a shotgun or is it a firearm? I mean, I know that's a technical difference from a legal standpoint. The Shockwave, Mossberg and Winchester both make what they call, it's not a shotgun because it can't be classified as a shotgun. It's a defensive gun. It's a firearm. And if you know, you know what I'm talking about. It fires a shotgun shell, but they don't classify it as a shotgun for legal ATF purposes. Is it one of those where it has like almost no stock and is super short? There you go. Okay. This is why, says Brian, it's important to run the gun numerous times. Yeah, no, absolutely. And Palmetto State just PSA's got a Turkish shotgun on sale for less than $150. Oof. Palmetto State has always got some interesting Palmetto State Armory. They've always got some super interesting deals over there. God, years ago, I remember I bought it was a 1911 knockoff. And I was just looking for a gun that you could throw under the seat of the car or have in a toolbox or something. Yes, I'm 18 years old. And they, yeah, I remember that it shot really well. I was very impressed for the $190 or whatever it was that I paid for it. It was nuts. What's Palmetto got right now? Oof. They got 3 different Tauruses. And these are kind of the Taurus knockoffs of the Walthers. $229 for the 22 long rifle, $223 for the 9mm compact, and then they've got a standard length for $282. That's not bad. I haven't seen a 1911 clone. They had a 1911 clone there for a while that was like I said, I think it was $190 or something. It was I think it was a Rock Island. I think it was one of the first gen Rock Islands before the Rock Island got to be a higher quality brand. I wonder do I still have that? Did I sell that? I don't remember now. Don't even remember. God, that's been 15, 18 years ago. Anyway, I guess we'll jump back into it. We got to go. So I got somebody on hold. I forgot to check them during the break. Caller, hold the line. Here we go. The Michael Duke Show, Common Sense Radio.
Whoa, buddy. Put that thing back in its holster. We haven't gone anywhere.
I don't understand.
Check out the MichaelDukesShow.com for information on how to get access to the podcast.
Welcome to the party, pal.
The Michael Duke Show.
I have 2 guns, one for each of you.
Firearms Friday.
As Thomas Jefferson stated, it is the right and duty of the people to be at all times armed.
Say hello to my little friend.
I say that the Second Amendment is, in order of importance, the First Amendment. The right to keep and bear arms is the one right that allows rights to exist at all.
The Michael Duke Show. The right to keep and bear arms shall not be infringed. Firearms.
From my cold, dead hands.
Friday.
Take my rifle, this is my gun. This is for riding, this is for fun.
Firearms Friday.
Firearms Friday, your chance to sound off on issues of a 2A nature. Welcome back to the program. It is that favorite day of the week where we get a chance to talk about guns and guns and firearms, the Second Amendment, gun rights, and so much more as well. We are continuing ahead today. We have open line, open forum as well. It is a chance for you to sound off on issues related to firearms and 2A stuff. 319-527-3864. We had somebody join right before the end of the break last hour, and so they held on through the news. Let's go over to them and see what they have to say this morning as we get started. Good morning. Who's this? Where are you calling from?
Hi, good morning. I'm calling from Castillo, Alaska. Good morning.
Good morning. What's on your mind?
Since we're talking about Friday, Firearms Friday, I really think the elite Democrats need to give up their guns regarding their security since they want to take away our rights.
Could you imagine that being the argument? Somebody saying, we need to take away these guns from these people. And then somebody says, okay, we'll defund all of your private security and disallow them from being able to have firearms as well. I mean, do you think that would go over like a fart in church or what? I mean,
I don't think that'd go over well, but I think the Nancy Pelosi, the Chuck Schumers, I think they need to give up their entourage with all those folks following them, and I think they need to give it up because we're not going to give up our guns. At least I'm not.
Right. No, I mean, and I think that's the point. The whole point here is that criminals are not listening, obviously. I mean, we're just talking about the carjacking in D.C., and we're talking about the shootings in Chicago and everything else. And we could just go to place after place where they have all these gun laws, and people are ignoring them. Criminals are ignoring them. And what that does is it either forces law-abiding citizens to, one, become outlaws by ignoring the law, or two, it forces them to disarm themselves and make them, be part of this target-rich environment for criminals. It makes no sense whatsoever.
And they've gotten rid of all of the police. They want to defund the police, so the police can't do anything. And now everybody's doing whatever they want, and no one's doing anything about it. It's out of control.
Yeah, no, I agree. It's a frustrating situation to watch, and unfortunately, there's not a lot of common sense locked into that. And but yeah, I agree with your sentiment. For every person that they want to disarm, they have to disarm their own security in exactly the same way. Let's see how well they feel about that.
Absolutely. And thank you for your show. I love listening to you, and have a great day.
Appreciate it. Thank you for your call. All right. 319-527-3864. Got some other lines on hold, so let's go over there right now. Good morning. Who is this? Where are you calling from?
Good morning, Michael. This is Ron in North Pole.
Good morning, Ron. How are you, my friend? Long time no hear.
I'm very good. Thank you. Something I wanted to call everybody's attention. It was triggered a few weeks ago by something you said on the radio. I can't even remember what the discussion was, but it's probably the most subtle form of gaslighting that we have in the media. How many times have you read from or described from an article by a gun scribe or an anti-gun scribe that substitutes the word with by?
And
no one was ever killed or injured or intimidated by a gun. It was with a gun.
That's an interesting distinction, Ron. I hadn't thought about that. The with and the by. That's kind of a capturing the language kind of thing, right? Where they capture it and they change it. So
I just thought I'd bring that out so people can be aware of it, at least when they're reading or listening.
Yeah. So John, so-and-so John Smith was shot or was injured by gun or instead of with a gun, he was intimidated by firearms. It's firearms. This is the whole point of that whole issue and the phraseology of firearms violence. They don't separate out knife violence or baseball bat violence or bludgeoning violence or car violence. They only firearms get that distinction. And it's a way, I think, to set it aside and to anthropomorphize it and make it so, like we said before, that it's the gun that's evil, right? Johnny was a perfect angel until they put that gun in his hand, and then he just became evil.
That was a great word you just used, that big one.
Yeah, anthropomorphize.
But anyway, yeah. I'll leave you with that thought. Perhaps folks can be a little more in tune with what they're reading or listening to. Have a great day, Mike.
Hey, thanks, Ron. It's good to hear from you, my friend. Thanks for calling in. And he's right. Again, we've seen that. And again, it goes back to that capturing the language. You don't hear about any other kind of violence. You don't hear about unarmed violence or hammer violence or, fill in the blank. Penguin violence. He was beaten to death with a penguin. Assault penguin. It's the same thing about assault weapons. What is an assault weapon? We don't have a definition of it. We have a definition of a battle rifle, a machine gun, a semi-automatic rifle, but no assault weapon. It's a capturing. And the same thing with gun violence. Gun violence is an epidemic, right? No, violence is an epidemic. The utilization of the tool is a mere part of that. But again, they're not separating out all the other tools. More people are beaten to death with hands, fists, and feet than are killed with rifles in this country. By usually it's a 2 to 3 to 1 margin, depending on what year you go back and look. But usually it's about 300 to 400 people a year are killed with rifles, and upwards of 16 to 1,800 people are beaten to death every year. Now, each one's a tragedy. I'm not trying to minimize, but I'm saying statistically, you don't hear about fist violence or boot violence or brick violence. It's a capturing the language. Are by and with, right? He was killed by a handgun. No, he was killed by the person who was wielding it. He was killed with a handgun by the person wielding it. Guns don't kill people. People kill people using a gun, right? That's the whole point there. All right, let's continue ahead here. We've got another call on hold. Good morning. Who's this? Where are you calling from?
Good morning. This is Mike, and I'm calling from Fairbanks.
Hello, Mike. What's on your mind, my friend?
Well, I wanted to suggest that now that our president is doing big boy press conferences, the Michael Duke Show should do a big boy show once a week or so. And then I wanted to point out to your listeners that while we are all celebrating the various Supreme Court decisions that we agree with and are hopefully going to make our lives a little better, those decisions were overturning of previous decisions. So the problem we face is that a future Supreme Court made up of different individuals could come back with the appropriate case to consider and just overturn the things that we are enjoying right now. That's what I got to say.
Well, Mike, I mean, I agree with you in part. I mean, McDonald, Heller, Bruin, those weren't overturning previous Supreme Court decisions. Those were the first rulings on those specific instances of the Second Amendment. But you're right, like the Chevron case that it had nothing to do with firearms, but will have impact on firearms. The Chevron deference case, that was an overturning of a previous Supreme Court decision. And I mean, that's the thing. Things can be overturned. Roe v. Wade, overturned. Dred Scott, overturned. Things can be overturned. But usually it takes quite a while and a lot of fighting to get it done, as we saw with Roe. I mean, that was almost 50 years. So while I agree with you, it can be overturned. It is good that these cases are coming out. We should be celebrating them now, and then we should be preparing ourselves to make sure that we defend those cases in whatever way we can so they don't go back before the courts again, in our lifetimes or our kids' lifetimes, if we can help with it.
Yeah, you're right. But the Democrats don't play fair, and they'll pack that court one way or another one of these days. And we're going to be in fights for our lives.
I think. Well, the pendulum swings back and forth all the time, my friend. We're always faced with it one way or the other. I mean, I agree with you. It's a tough situation. But, yeah, you're right.
Yes, sir. Have a good day, Mike.
Thank you, Mike. Appreciate you calling in and joining us. That leaves all the lines open. If you'd like to sound off this morning on any of these topics, I'd love to hear what you have to say. 319-527-3864, 319-527-3864. You can also drop me an email. I suppose I should check my email. me@michaeldukeshow.com, me@michaeldukesshow.com. If you would love to, if you'd like to drop me an email with either your thoughts or whatever. And of course, you can always join us in the chat room, which is available at facebook.com/Michael Duke Show. Facebook.com @Michael Duke Show. This is a battle. Somebody says, is this a battle microphone, Mike? Yes, this is a battle microphone. This is an assault microphone. I mean, this is assault radio, right? I mean, if your feelings are hurt, this is assault radio. So it's crazy. Frank asked the question in the chat room. He said, Biden said that more children die from gunshots than anything else. Is that true? Well, this is the same thing that Vivek Murthy said last 10 days ago when he came out that the gun violence was a public health epidemic. So it all depends on how you count things. Now, more children die from gunshots. The question is, what do you say when you say die? Do you include suicides? The answer for them is yes. And when they say children, what is the cutoff? Because if you don't include children under the age of 10 months and you include, quote unquote, children up to the age of 19, which is what Murphy's statistics did, then yes, more children die by firearm shots. But what you find out when you break that down is the preponderance of the deaths by firearms are all in the 18 and 19-year-old year ranges. If you disallowed 18-year-olds and up and just made it from 0 to 18, up to 18 years old, no, more kids drown, the more kids die in car accidents, more. And if you take out suicides, it's even worse. It's a total different change. So it all depends, and again, on who's counting the votes, so to speak, as Stalin said, right? It all depends on what the question is and how you're counting them. So there you go. All right, let's go back over to the phones one more time before we run out of daylight for this segment. Good morning. Who's this? Where are you calling from?
Hey, this is Larry from Fairbanks.
Hello, Larry. What's on your mind, sir?
Yeah, I find it hard to believe that they don't bring up the fact that and fight this fact that you have cognitive dissonance, and the fact that if you look at the abortion rate based off the same time frame for murder rates, that you have 80 times more abortions than you do murders or deaths by firearms, and yet they fight against our firearms rights and they're pro for abortion rights. So I just that blows my mind.
Well, I mean, I guess it comes. I guess it comes down to it was a choice, Larry, right? At least they had a choice in it, is what they would like to say. It's crazy. Yeah, I mean, there are across let's see, last year for the CDC that has reported this, 2021, there were 625,000, almost 626,000 abortions in 46 states and the District of Columbia in 1 year. And so the deaths by firearms of approximately, I think the last number was somewhere around 14,000 deaths by firearms, homicides by firearms. Yeah, I could see as how that would make you scratch your head and go, wait, what? How is that? But it is apparently an option to be able to hold two competing, completely dichotomous thoughts at the same time. Two completely opposing thoughts at the same time. You shouldn't have your gun rights because we're trying to protect people, yet we're totally okay with killing over 500,000 babies every year. You're right, 100% right. It is a complete and total conundrum. How can that be? In the first 10 months of 2023, by the way, estimated 878,000 abortions in the U.S. healthcare system. Almost 1 million babies. And you're worried about, 15,000 people being killed. I mean, everyone's a tragedy. Don't get me wrong. I'm talking about the raw numbers and the statistics here. Come on. All right, we got to go. Sorry, got to go. We're up against it. I wanted to talk about this Republican platform. We'll do that on the other side. And then we got Willie Waffle coming up. So we're going to be busy beavers in the next segment. Don't go anywhere. The Michael Duke Show, common sense, liberty-based, free-thinking radio. Back with more right after this.
What is that?
Common sense. Regularly heard on American radio. Michael Duke Show. Radio.
Oof, man. All right. Trump has no chance of winning with a strong economy. Did you watch the debates? I'm just asking for a friend, Harold. I mean, did you watch what was, Am I going to talk about the bearing arms story about home invasions? Yeah, well, I don't know. Maybe. I would like to. Maybe we should just talk about it now. So Tom Knighton over at Bearing Arms, which is one of my go-to places, by the way, for news stories. A lot of the stories that I get for Firearms Friday comes out of Bearing Arms. They're talking about, how magazine capacity restrictions are a thing in many jurisdictions. Oh, it's the only way. It's the only way to prevent these mass shooters from being able to shoot more is by reducing their... By the way, did you notice that they're killing people and that too is against the law? Do you think that's really good? I mean, it was like this kid who just got shot in D.C., Sotomayor's, Marshall detail. He had a large capacity magazine in a place that, because, I mean, he's already carjacking, illegal. He's already pointing a firearm at somebody, illegal. He's threatening to use, illegal. And so do you really think that another, capacity between 15 and 10 round magazines, you think it's really going to stop a criminal from doing what they're doing? Not to mention the fact that, nobody ever came out of a gunfight and said, boy, I had way too much ammunition, right? Nobody ever comes out of a serious encounter like that and goes, God, I wish I had had less ammunition than what I had there. A recent home invasion in Texas illustrates what happens and why you may need something like a 30-round mag for your AR or a 15-round mag for your Glock. Police say 4 armed men broke into a man's home on the southwest side in Texas and demanded money at gunpoint. The attack happened at around 12:30 p.m. in the 400 block of Wilcox. Police say the door to the home was unlocked when 4 men with guns and masks barged in and held a man at gunpoint. So they took the money, they pistol whipped the hell out of the guy, and they're currently out on the street somewhere else at large. There's 4 of them. 4 armed men. And let's just say that somehow you were restricted to a 10-round magazine, or was it New York has like a 7-round magazine, right? But let's be generous and say you've got a 10-round magazine. There's 4 of them. That's basically 2.5 shots per bad guy. That's accounting for, 2 missed shots out of 4 and hoping that 2 per guy actually puts them down. I mean, no Mozambique drill for you. Right? That's the 2 to the chest, 1 to the head, rinse and repeat as necessary. There's 4 of them. You ain't got enough rounds. And what happens if you're able to eliminate only 2 of the 4 or 3 of the 4, and now you're dry and empty, and these guys were armed? What are you going to do now? It's the story also from Texas of the former Marine who had a couple home invaders. I can't remember if it was 2, 3, 4 break into his house, and he responded with an AR-15 with a 30-round mag and was able to defend himself and his family because they were also armed. It's insane that they would say you can have this much, but only so much. And again, it only is applying to law-abiding citizens. I mean, I keep repeating that every Friday. We keep talking about the definition of criminal, but that is the problem. That is the one thing that they don't seem to understand, is that criminals break the law. One more law is not going to stop bad people from doing bad things. They're not just going to go arbitrarily, oh man, I was going to go rob and carjack and kill and rape and murder, but you just added that one more law. Oh, that's a deterrent for me. It doesn't make any sense. Here we go.
What the hell's an assault weapon? What isn't? If I assault you with a penguin, doesn't that make it an assault weapon? Does this mean that if we hurt your feelings, you'd consider the Michael Dukes Show assault radio? Okay, we can live with that. Here's Michael Dukes.
Okay, welcome back. The Michael Dukes Show, Common Sense Radio. We were just talking about the home invasion statistics, and there's a story on bearingarms.com you can go take a look at, talking about the home invasion in Texas and how it basically proves a point as to why gun control is stupid. But we're gonna jump out of that. I want to talk about the GOP platform. Jacob Sullum from Reason Magazine, and I don't have enough time to really flesh this whole thing out because he's got a very in-depth article about this, and I'm hoping he'll come back on next week to discuss it more. But the Republican Party platform from 2016 had over 3 paragraphs devoted to gun rights themselves, right? That was a big deal, gun rights. And it was a big shock and surprise because President Trump was the nominee, and he, up until that point, had not been a friend of the Second Amendment. And so that was a little shocking for some people. Now, in 2020, they didn't have a platform. They just endorsed the Make America Great Again thing. But now they've come back around to it. And they have put together a new platform. The Reload's got an article about it. Jake Fogelman from The Reload is writing about it. But they get into it and they talk about they make one reference. Again, going back to the 2016 platform where they had over 3 paragraphs about the Second Amendment and the importance and what it all is and everything else. In contrast, the current one mentions the right to keep and bear arms once. In the list of 20 promises that they want to accomplish in the House and the Senate and the White House, they say Republicans will defend our Constitution, our Bill of Rights, our fundamental freedoms, including freedom of speech, freedom of religion, and the right to keep and bear arms. That's the only time that gun rights are mentioned in the entire document. That's a little troubling. That's a little troubling specifically because Trump has never been a believer in gun rights. I mean, it's been proven out again and again and again. He imposed the bump stock ban. He met with members of Congress in February of 2018 to discuss gun regulation, and during that meeting, he spoke favorably of requiring background checks for all gun transfers, raising a minimum age for buying long guns, and then preemptively confiscating guns through red flag laws. And these go back in his book that he wrote in 2000 called The American We Deserve. He said he kind of staked out the difference, the middle ground between the NRA and the anti-gunners. He says he supported the ban on assault rifles. He supported a slightly longer waiting period to purchase guns. This was in his own words. Then in 2011, he comes around and says, I'm against gun control. Very strong person on the Second Amendment. Got elected and then proceeded to say, well, we'll just take the guns and worry about due process later. This entire platform is basically written to try and endorse the Trump point of view. And it is super troubling to see the cult of personality persist all throughout the party, where we are so desperate to get rid of, Joe the Muppet, that this is the answer. And I know a lot of you are Trump supporters, and I've got no problem. You vote for who you want to vote for. I'm just saying, don't believe it all, folks. He's going to clean out the swamp. He's part of the swamp. He admitted to being part of the swamp. He admitted to buying votes and supporting both sides with his own money and propping things up. He says he's a strong supporter of the Second Amendment, and yet he is the one that unleashed the executive pen for the first time and weaponized the ATF against people who own bump stocks. He supported the idea of background checks and assault weapons bans. He said in a press conference live on TV when they were talking about right after Parkland, oh, we need to do these red flag laws, and we need to, we'll need to just take these guns from people if they're a danger. And one of the law enforcement says, well, sir, we have to worry about due process. And he says, we'll take the guns first and worry about due process later. Again, if that doesn't cause, the pucker to happen on you, you're not paying attention. So as much attention as the new GOP platform is getting about the fact that it is essentially just kowtowing and echoing Trump's position on abortion, which is that it should be up to the states and no longer a strident barrier against that as it was back in 2016. On the gun stuff, it's even worse because it only mentions the Second Amendment one time in passing. And I know a lot of you people don't want to hear that. And say, well, do you want Joe to win? No, I don't want Joe to win. But I want you guys to place your vote with your eyes wide open and realize this guy is not the freaking Messiah. Is he better than the other guy? Yeah. My dog sleeping at my feet under my desk would be better than the other guy. I mean, come on. But is he the end all? Is he the one? Is he the answer? No. He's going to perpetuate a lot of the same policies that he's had before. Some have been good, some have been bad. But people keep looking at him like he's, again, the orange Jesus who's going to come in and save us all from what he is part of the problem. You talk about elites. We were talking about elites earlier with Sotomayor and everybody else and all that kind of stuff. He is part of that elite cabal that feels exactly that way. I mean, how did he get a concealed carry permit in New York City all those years ago? Because he's an elite. One rule for thee, another for me. All right, we got to go. The Michael Duke Show, common sense, liberty-based, free-thinking radio. We got Willie Waffle coming up next for our weekend movie review. Oh, baby. It's going to be fun. Back with more right after this.
Streaming live every weekday morning on Facebook Live and MichaelDukesShow.com.
Okay. Man, I wish I could have spent more time on that, but I just ran out of time. All right, today, blah, 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 blah. Yeah, I guess when you have enough laws, you will not need a police force, says Frank. Exactly. Trump needs to wake up on gun rights, that's for sure. I mean, that's assuming you think that he doesn't understand. The guy can read a room, right? He can read a room. He knows, he tells people, this is what makes him such a great negotiator. This is what's made him successful in business. He knows exactly what to say to people to get them to listen in the right time. Does he believe it? No. But he knows what to say. That's what it is. You're assuming when he says he needs to wake up on gun rights, you're assuming he's asleep. He is wide awake. Is the Trump campaign paring it down or watering it down? No, but the party understands that he's the nominee and they're forming the platform to adhere to basically the talking points of what his campaign is, Kevin. All right, I'm going through this. I'll never forget Dianne Feinstein rubbing her hands together like a fly sitting next to him being all giddy when he said that during that meeting, the 2018 meeting. I mean, she looked like she was orgasmic, like, oh, I mean, she was just so excited that he was saying, yes, universal background checks. And he was saying, yes, waiting periods and assault weapon. I mean, she looked like she was going to pass a stone right there. She just like, yes. He is the most pro-gun candidate in it. No, he's not. I mean, Gary says we have to vote for the best candidate that can win. No libertarian candidate will even be a viable candidate in my lifetime. If Republicans break stride, Biden will win. I'm not advocating that you don't vote for him. I'm saying when you vote for him, eyes wide open, baby. Quit treating him like he is, again, the orange Jesus. That's not who he is. He will tell you whatever you want to hear. Does he have some good ideas? Absolutely. Does he have some horrible ideas? Absolutely. Do I want Biden over him? Absolutely not. That's not what I'm saying. This is not a zero-sum game, people. This is not a zero-sum game. Do I like RFK? I like a lot of the things that RFK has to say, except that when it comes to the environment and some of the government regulation, he's nutty as squirrel poo. I mean, but I have to vote for the best candidate that can win. I will disagree with Gary on this. We have to vote for the best candidate that can win. No, you have to vote for the candidate that you choose. Just saying I can't vote for candidate X because he has no chance of winning flies right in the face of my freedom of choice and the ideas and principles on which this country is founded. If I vote for RFK, or if I vote for Gary Johnson, or if I write in my dog's name as a write-in candidate, that's my choice. This idea that we have to vote for the best candidate that can win is what got us here in the first place. Plus, his son is an avid hunter. Now the elite Trump spend more time in court defending himself. His son is an avid hunter and gun owner. I'm not saying that it's insane to watch people just lose their minds about how, no matter what you say, that somehow this guy is going to save the planet and the country and everything else and clean out the problems that we're having without anybody acknowledging that he was part of the same problem. Kim says, we get it. Lighten up. I'm sorry. It's just one of those things. And to look at what's happening to things like the Republican Party, where they've now softened their tone on so many things that they should be standing up about, is irritating. Brian says, please do not ever use Dianne Feinstein and orgasmic in the same sentence. Well, sorry. Didn't mean to do that. Didn't mean to put that picture in your head. Although, think about it for a minute. Oh, Lord Almighty. Okay. We're going to get ready to go here. We're going to do our thing. Buzz, buzz, buzz. Phone just rang. We're ready to go. Willie is locked in. And we're gonna do a little bit of weekend movie reviews and stuff. And I know Frank has all been out of shape that we're supporting Hollywood we're just talking about stuff, man. I don't see it as supporting Hollywood, but you do you, boo. All right, let's go. The Michael Duke Show. Common sense, liberty-based, free thinking radio. Let's do it. Okay, we're ready for the weekend, and of course that means it's waffle time. This time I'll make waffles. Willie Waffle, wafflemovies.com. Hello, my friend.
Well, hello. This has been a big week, a massive week, a frightening week.
Man, lots of stuff going on. Of course, we missed last weekend, but we enjoyed ourselves. I'm sure you did as well. Just kind of relaxation and kick back. Although I think, did you have to work? You had to work part of the weekend, didn't you?
I did not.
Oh,
I had
okay.
4 whole days off.
Isn't it
And,
great?
yeah,
Isn't it great? Doesn't it
it's
feel like
fantastic.
it's like a whole new thing, man? It just felt so good.
I know. I gotta do this more
Why
often.
can't
I
we
think
have a 4-day
I
weekend every week? I mean,
Yes!
come on, let's just
That
do it.
would that be perfect? I mean, frankly, I think the one thing I've learned over the course of my life is that the job I was truly meant for was lottery winner. Like, I could fill time during the day. I hear these people who are like, "Well, I gotta have a job to fill time." No. No, I'll find plenty of things to do.
Oh,
I'm fine with it.
I got a lot of hobbies. There's things that I could do.
Yeah.
There's cars that I could work on, and miniatures I could paint, and D&D games I could write, and video games that I could play. There's a lot of things I could do. All right. Well, let's get into the news. We're going to start off with the shocking, I tell you, news about Wheel of Fortune. So shocking, Willie wouldn't even tell me. He's like, "No, I got to tell you live." So I'm ready to be shocked, my friend. What is the shocking Wheel of Fortune news?
Pat Sajak is back.
What? I thought they just didn't they just kick him to the curb? What is going on?
He just retired a few weeks ago. And ABC announced this week that Pat Sajak is returning to host the primetime Celebrity Wheel of Fortune series on ABC in the fall. So it airs on Mondays when they don't have Monday Night Football. And Pat Sajak, the man who retired, the man who told us he was going away, is still here. Now, the syndicated version every night is going to be hosted by Ryan Seacrest. That is happening.
All right.
But I don't know, dude. I feel like I was lied to.
Well, yeah.
Like, I feel like I was misled. Okay?
You feel like you're getting played. We're getting played at this point. I mean, come on.
We had this whole emotional farewell, and then we loved Pat, and the ratings went up, and then it's like, oh yeah, I'll be back in the fall. You'll be what?
Yeah. So here's my question: did he write a contract that paid the same, but now he only has to work Monday nights in the off season? That's the question.
Wouldn't that be fantastic?
Because if that's the case, man, more power to Pat Sajak. All praise Pat Sajak for that deal. I want to know it. All right, you got some other big news that you didn't tell me about. What's the other? You got another big story. What came out?
Kevin Costner's Horizon.
Yeah. Now this is
so.
I've heard that this is supposed to be. It got some like Cannes film. I mean, they were like, "Oh, it's great," but then I heard some other things in the beginning. Tell me what's going on here.
Well, this is originally in Costner's mind a 4-part series, 4 movies. The first one came out a few weeks ago, and it bombed, baby. It bombed in the sense that this thing cost like $100 million to make. Kevin Costner has put $38 million of his own money into it, and it bombed. And the second movie, Horizon 2, was scheduled to come out in August until the studio announced we're gonna delay that. See, we think a lot of people need to find the first Horizon movie first,
right?
So they're gonna push hard. They're gonna have a home video on demand release on July 16th. They're gonna have a release on Max, the streaming service, sometime in the future. They haven't determined when, and they think that if they get enough people. If they give people enough chance to find the movie, they'll want to see part 2. And, Costner is still moving forward. He's supposed to start making part 3 in August.
Right.
And he doesn't even have a distribution deal.
I heard it got some kudos. I mean, maybe it was a bomb because nobody really heard about it or what was going on.
It was 3 hours long.
That's
that
the thing.
Was the problem.
This thing is going to be 12 or 13 hours by the time you got all 4 movies in there. But I heard good things. And Costner is a good director. He plays a good cowboy. I mean, the guy is, he's talented. So I could see, I didn't go see it at the theater. I'm going to wait for it to come out on video. So,
me too.
Maybe that's what's going on. But like you said, maybe pushing it to the streams early, since it's already bombed, what are you going to lose? Push it to the pay-per-view and push it to the streaming services. Heck, that might be a winning deal.
Oh, absolutely. Right as soon as they said it's on Max, I'm like, yeah, I've got a subscription. I will see it on Max. I might even be tempted if the price is right to rent it on video on demand, next week.
Yeah.
Because, I'm curious. I saw the trailers. It looked like a pretty darn interesting movie. And I agree with you. I think Kevin Costner is a very good director. I think he knows how to tell stories, especially these Western stories. And if the thing wasn't over 3 hours long, I would have happily been down at the movie theater watching it. But who can do that? But at home, I can sit there, I can watch, I can take breaks, I can watch some tonight, I can watch some tomorrow. I think it's perfect for video on demand. This thing should have been streaming the whole time, but it costs so much money they'd never get their money back. But now they've lost so much money that what other choice do they have?
Right. Well, and I know Costner, he did drop a sizable part of his fortune into this, so we'll have to see how it ends up. I'm looking forward to seeing it, but yeah, go ahead.
Here's what I'm wondering. What was this guy thinking? He dropped $38 million of his own money into the movie at the same time he's getting divorced? Does he want to be broke?
Yeah, well, maybe. He's just driving around in a Subaru, living in a 2-bedroom apartment. It's fine,
Down at the bachelor apartments,
yeah,
yes.
Exactly. All right, let's move over to Matthew Perry. Now, Matthew Perry's a pretty talented actor overall. He didn't do a whole lot outside of Friends. That was like his big thing, but he was a pretty cool guy. And of course, he died, right? Drug overdose, ketamine overdose of all things. And there were some questions about this, and I didn't know that it was really even questions, but now apparently there's been some rumors saying somebody gonna get pinched for this.
Well, yeah, so that's been the thing that, over the past few weeks, the stories come out that the Justice Department, the DEA, the LAPD have all been conducting this very extensive investigation into how did Matthew Perry get this large quantity of drugs that you shouldn't have, even if you have any kind of prescription or you have any kind of, distribution from a physician. And they're digging deeper, and there's concerns that they're gonna actually charge somebody with not homicide but with manslaughter, that they gave him these drugs that killed him. And there's concerns that they're gonna find out there's this whole almost ring that's going on, that if you're famous you can get some of these
Get
drugs
just about anything,
and you
yeah.
can get them illegally. And so this week there was a hot rumor that the charges were going to be filed, that the LAPD and the DEA and Justice Department were trying to pick a day and a venue to have a press conference to announce this. It hasn't quite happened yet. Maybe it'll happen next week. But this could blow the lid off of Hollywood in a lot of ways, because if it turns out that they're willing to start prosecuting people, for this drug trading, for lack of a better term, it's going to sully a lot of names and a lot of careers. And there's even a rumor that the person who gave Matthew Perry the drugs is a name you might recognize.
Oof.
And that could make it even worse.
Well, charges are rumored to be dropped this week, which it could include today. So we may know next week what happened on that, but we'll get back to that. Speaking of charges, Alec Baldwin, I will admit, I hate to admit it here, I have been watching a lot of court TV this week.
It's fascinating.
Because I'm watching Alec Baldwin get raked over the coals in court in Santa Fe over the shooting on the set of Rust. And they disallowed they disallowed the moniker of producer to him. They're really not allowing that to come in. And some people, I think even you said, well, that's what their whole case hangs on, right? Is the fact that he was a producer and he was in charge.
That was my feeling.
Well,
my feeling is that they would come after him because as a boss, as a producer, he had an extra responsibility to create a safe environment and to make sure that everybody was following the rules and following the laws and following safety protocols. And he's gotten out of that because it has been revealed that he was a producer in name only. So he really had no power whatsoever. And now the focus is on his own personal conduct. And like you said, it ain't looking good.
No, it's not looking good. And in fact, there was discussion during the Gutierrez trial that he would rant and rave and scream at people and tell them what to do. And they did it. So whether he was an actual producer or not, maybe his authority. This is basically a manslaughter case. So it's not murder, but he's not making himself look good. His attorney last night was openly hostile to the forensics technician with another wild story about bullets coming in later and everything else. But the wildest thing that happened yesterday was during an evidentiary motions hearing where the jury was out of the room and the two attorneys are arguing about what to allow in out of his transcript from his testimony when he talked to the police without an attorney. The prosecutor's in the middle of saying that this needs to come in because it shows that he's a liar. He gets up from the table, turns around and walks out of the courtroom. Oof. And everybody is just shocked right down to their socks. His attorney literally looks at goes, what the, I mean, he literally is just like, what is going on? And later on they said, well, he had to go to the bathroom or whatever, but he comes back like 9 minutes later with a cup of coffee in his hands. And this, I mean, the attorney and some of the commentary on this from some of the legal commentators on places like YouTube and stuff are like, what is going, you do not, you're lucky he didn't get tackled by a bailiff because you just don't do that, You
can't just come and go. You're not allowed to do that.
And the poor guy has just got resting snark face. He just literally is sitting there kind of with this sneer on his face. And I'm like, you're an actor, man. You should look stoic or remorseful or something, but not with this kind of snarky sneer on your face. It's been crazy. This thing has been just crazy to watch. And we're going to see what happens.
Yeah, well, here's a little side angle that I had forgotten about that has come out this week. Alec Baldwin and his wife Hilaria are going to be doing a reality show for a cable network next year. I thought it was TLC. I could be wrong. And they are making plans for how they could do the show if Alec Baldwin is in jail.
Well, and he probably needs the money because one of the things that came out during this thing is that the civil suit against him from Helena Hutchinson's family said they haven't received the first or this next, I guess the first or they haven't received the most recent payment. It's like several months late that they were supposed to receive a payment from him in the civil suit. So maybe he needs the money. I don't know. It'll be interesting to see.
Well, and I think his wife wants the fame more than anything.
Yeah, it's possible. All right. Well, we've only got a couple minutes here, so I want to talk about long legs. Give me the other two quickly. We've got just under 2 minutes.
All right, I'll give you. Okay, so if you remember the Sausage Party animated movie from 8 years ago, well, now there's a series, Foodtopia, Sausage Party Foodtopia on Amazon Prime, and I hope I never have to watch this ever again in my life. It is just ridiculous. It is crude. It is pointless. It's just substituting. It's trying to substitute crassness for hilarity. It doesn't work. Nothing about this thing is entertaining. Nothing about this thing is redeeming. I'm at 0 waffles. Let's move on.
0 waffles. Oh, damn. Okay. How about Fly Me to the Moon?
Yeah, this is a movie that I think had a lot of hope but failed. So Scarlett Johansson is kind of like a marketing executive working with NASA and a NASA official played by Channing Tatum to promote Apollo 11's landing on the moon. And of course, along the way, well, they're beautiful people. They fall in love. And so it's supposed to be kind of like this rom-com. It's also supposed to be somewhat of a telling of the story of how NASA really was trying to convince the networks to carry the moon landing live on TV. Can you believe they had to fight for that? They had to convince people of that. And all of that is okay. But the worst part about the movie, what drags it down, is they have this whole other plot that, well, they're filming a fake moon landing in case they need to use it. And I'm like, oh God. And it takes up so much. I mean, the movie's 2 hours and 7 minutes. They take this thing out. They could have had a nice tight hour and a half, fun little rom-com with great chemistry between Tatum and Johansson. But this thing's like 1.5 waffles because I think that whole story ruins the movie.
All right, Long Legs in theaters. This is crazy. Nicolas Cage in probably his most unhinged appearance yet, apparently, according to everything. But it is creepy. It is scary. It is supposed to be good. Give it to me quickly here, dude. I'm sorry. We got 35 seconds. Give me a brief.
It's a really good movie. It's set in the 1990s as the FBI and a rookie investigator played by Micah Monroe are investigating a serial killer who leaves cryptic messages behind, signed Long Legs. And, it's already out there. Nicolas Cage is Long Legs. And he plays the most, I'm with you. It's creepy. It's scary. It's over the top. It is so perfectly Nicolas Cage as he plays the serial killer, as we wonder, what is he trying to accomplish? How are these murders happening? There's a whole bunch of stuff that makes you wonder what's really going on. I'm at 3.5 waffles. I thought it was really good.
Man. All right, we got to go. Willie Waffle, wafflemovies.com. Folks, thanks for coming in and joining us. We will see you on Monday. Okay, yeah, I saw this and I read some of the things from the director, and then I saw an interview, and then I saw something else, and my wife is like, we got to see this. She's obsessed with scary movies. And this thing people were like, this is Nicolas Cage at like 11 or 12. I mean, it is crazy. The girl is supposed to be an amazing actress for this. The whole story. Give me the background here.
Yeah. So the deal is Nicolas Cage is unrecognizable in this movie. It's Nicolas Cage because they've kind of been promoting it. He's under a lot of heavy makeup. He has this weird, creepy voice that's so gets under your skin. It's perfect. And and the idea is that this rookie investigator somehow has almost like an intuitive sense. She seems to be solving the case and finding the clues in ways that the other FBI investigators can't. And we start to wonder why are certain things being dropped at her doorstep. And we wonder, what is the real story? Because they go through great pains to explain that that the serial killer is killing entire families, but they can't figure out how is he getting in because there's no sign of entry. How is he using murder weapons from inside the house? How come there's no outside murder weapon? I mean, like, all these things just don't add up and make you wonder what's the real story as they get deeper and deeper. And it's a movie that does a great job setting the atmosphere. It's got the traditional jump scares. That's fine. But it really does create a creepy atmosphere. I think that really is the one thing it has going for it more than anything else. I thought the ending got a little bit jumbled. I'm not exactly 100% happy there, but I'm telling you, you and the wife got to go this weekend. Like, do yourselves a favor. This is the one. Get out of the house. Get down to the theater and enjoy this one, because I think you really will.
Yeah, I mean, it's everything that I've read about it has just said amazing. It's got like a 94% score on Rotten Tomatoes. Yeah. I mean, everybody is just like gaga over this. And I'm not much for gore, but tension and thrill and things like that. I'm down to check this out. I'm down to definitely check this out. I watched the trailer yesterday and I was like, oh, because they don't really show Nicolas Cage, but you hear his voice and it's so freaking creepy. Yeah. That guy it's just insane. All right, well, good. What are you looking forward to next week, my friend?
Next week, that would be Twisters, the sequel to Twister. How many, like 30 years later? It's almost 30 years, isn't it?
Well,
I want to say Twister came out in like 97 or 98.
Oh,
maybe even earlier.
I think it was like 94 or something. I mean, it was.
Yeah. I do remember. I distinctly remember. I had just moved to Washington D.C. So it's about 95, 96, somewhere in there. Yeah.
Yeah, 1996, according to Google.
There you go.
1996. So yeah, it's definitely crazy. All right, Willie. Well, we will talk about you. We'll talk about you behind your back all the time, but we'll talk about the movies.
That's right. That's the way like a real gentleman does it. That's
exactly.
Right. You talk about me behind my back.
I'll talk about you to your face, Waffle Man. All right. Thanks, brother. It's good to talk with you. I hope you have a great weekend. We'll see you down the road. Yeah.
See you next week. I'll be there.
All right, folks. Again, we're coming back on Monday with more good stuff, more political I was going to say political intrigue, but that's not right. It's candidate interviews. James Fields, Mike Prax. We'll see you guys on Monday. Have a great weekend.
We've shed our terrestrial radio skin, and now we are slimy lizard internet people. It's the Michael Duke Show.
Well,
Bye.